Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham Blog and to another Tottenham transfer roundup, our first of the transfer window, our first of 2022, and I hope everybody watching had a fantastic Christmas and great celebrations for New Year as well. But like I said on Twitter, I'm not going to wish you a happy New Year. I'm going to wish you a happy new transfer window. Antonio Conte's first at Tottenham, and we've quite a few updates to get through today, mainly with regards to potential outgoings. If you are new to the channel, my name is Matt and I'm a senior analyst with Opta and Stats Perform. Do make sure to subscribe for more of these transfer videos and Premier League reaction videos all throughout January and for the rest of the season as well. Let's dive into the chat and see who we have tuning in. We've Steve Williams. Says long time no see, Matt. Steve, so good to see you again. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got Lil Baz, Dara, Rob from the Last Minute with our podcast as well, who still hasn't followed me back on Twitter. We got Little Big Man Ryan, the absolute legend, tuning in early as well. I have pinned my Twitter link there at the top of the live chat, so please do go and follow me there if you haven't already for more regular transfer updates. I would say Killian, Kane, Christopher, all good to see you in the live chat as well. But let's dive into things. I'm going to start with a few more general updates from Alasdair Gold. And he has told us that in Antonio Conte's first transfer meeting ahead of the winter window with the club's hierarchy, when he asked to have another month to evaluate his players, Conte was told that money would be tighter in January following the summer's transfer dealings. And that is a little bit of a setback in our thoughts with regards to what will be going on at Tottenham this window. And it's kind of the biggest fear that we had was that maybe Conte, the promises were empty from Levy and from the hierarchy at Tottenham when we did appoint him during the summer. There's concern there. Absolutely there is. But let's wait and see how it pans out. I don't think there's any point in getting too ahead of ourselves and kind of immediately thinking, well, it's over. You know, Conte, we know he is not going to stick around at the club if things don't go completely to plan during his time at the club. So let's just relax a little bit and wait to see how things pan out. Alasdair Gold has also said that Antonio Conte believes it will take more than one transfer window to turn Tottenham Hotspur back into challengers in the Premier League. And I think this is, we do as a fan base need to temper our expectations a little bit, because I suppose with good reason, we're getting extremely excited and we're getting way ahead of ourselves with what we may be seeing in with Tottenham throughout this season and throughout the coming seasons, depending on how long Antonio Conte sticks around. And Ben Kaufman, member for 6 months, says, big up Matty Hayes. Ben, you're an absolute incredible supporter of the channel. 6 months as a member is absolutely insane. Thank you very, very much for that. But it is going to take time. We do have still a long way to go. We've had that managerial bounce that I think has really lasted a bit longer than we were expecting. You know, 8 games now under Antonio Conte. We remain unbeaten. We've 5 wins, 3 points for a total of 18 points out of a possible 24, which is an incredible return and certainly a lot better than what we were doing under Nuno Espirito Santo. But Conte is absolutely correct, and it sounds silly for me to sit here and prove what he is saying, but it is a fact that it's going to take a while to really get us back to a level where we can consistently challenge in the Premier League. And if the ultimate goal is to get us to a stage where we're looking to compete with Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool, well, then it's going to take even longer than that. But the next quote here from Conte is one that I'm really happy about. He said, there will be new signings. When I was appointed, they said that we would need to talk about it. The situation is very clear. We need to make our assessments to understand where we are and where we want to get. And initially, what I take from that is Antonio Conte, unlike the previous managers, and I saw this mentioned on Twitter as well, it's a very good point that he's not beating around the bush. He's not saying, well, we want new signings, but like the way Pochettino said it, we want new signings, but only if they definitely improve the team. And Jose Mourinho often kind of beat around the bush where he was saying, yeah, it would be nice, but we are happy with what we have and we think we can work with the squad, whatever. Conte is not beating around the bush. He's gone straight for it. He's not, giving into what may happen with Daniel Levy bringing the money back a little bit. He's saying we need new signings. He said there will be new signings, and hopefully we'll see some of those in this window. He continued on to say, my expectation is to speak with my club and then tell them my opinion. The club will know after I speak and the decision they want to make. Now, Antonio Conte said that today. We're 3 days into the transfer window, and apparently, what we're to take from that is that Antonio Conte hasn't yet actually spoken with the club with regards to his plans for the transfer window, who he wants to move on, who he wants to bring in, and what positions he wants to address as a priority. I'm very concerned that conversation hasn't taken place. If we're taking this quote as it is said, he says his expectation is to speak with the club. You could assume from that he hasn't yet. Now, the January window is typically and historically extremely difficult to get deals done. And we know that quote from Steve Hitchen where he says he hates the January transfer window. It's more difficult to work in the summer transfer window for a number of reasons, and you need to be prepared heading into it. And for Tottenham, we need to be in a situation where we get these deals that we want to get them done early, because we need to embed these players in the squad if we want them to have a strong end to the season, to help us in our pursuit of Champions League football, and even to help us in our big games this month. And that's another thing. Antonio Conte in January has to be fully focused on what is happening on the pitch. We play Chelsea 3 times. We play Arsenal once. We're hoping to get to a cup final. We're hoping to take the that 4th spot in the Premier League and really take hold of that race for the top 4. If Antonio Conte is distracted and he's trying to get these meetings done with regards to who he wants to buy with Daniel Levy, if he is focusing too much time on working very, very proactively and being very involved in the work in the transfer window, I'm not sure that's a really good thing. Because when you bring in a director of football or a sporting director of football management, whatever Fabio Paratici's title is, you want him to take control and be the man who's working a lot more within that transfer window. So Conte, I personally think at this point should already have had the chance to portray his plans to Levy, to Hitchen, to Paratici, so that he can then focus on what is going to be a very important month for Tottenham on the football pitch. But it seems that he hasn't done that, and that on the 4 of it is quite a concern for me personally. I don't know if you agree with me in the live chat. Kane there says, concerning if that hasn't taken place yet. Same with Lloris contract talks. Why are we taking so long to do these no-brainer conversations? And we will start with Lloris in a second, so we may be a bit further advanced in that one. But I completely agree with you there, Kane. You know, we need to... There's a lot of kind of grey areas with regards to our squad and with deals we may or may not get done. The ones that we know will get done, or the things that we know need to be done, should have been done by now. Which includes a Lloris contract. It includes this meeting with Conte. And in the hierarchy, and Paul there says, my worry is Numpty Hitchen is still involved in transfers. We don't really know how involved he is, but he's definitely still involved. And that in itself is, as you say, a bit of a worry. A couple of other updates. ESPN UK, not the most reliable of sources, but a source nonetheless, said that Tottenham are expected to give Antonio Conte significant funds to improve his squad, although the majority of work is set to take place in the summer, with January a tricky window to complete business. So hopefully ESPN a little bit more accurate there, as they say the money may be available in the summer. And there's a man in the live chat there who may doubt that, who may doubt that the money would ever become available. Brian Daigle says, how are you, and everyone in the chat. Brian, I'm absolutely fantastic. I hope you're doing well. Enjoying your time back in England. Great to see you in the live chat as always. Final update before we get into the specifics of it. Antonio Conte has revealed today in his press conference that Tottenham are investigating 2 potential COVID-19 cases within the playing squad ahead of Wednesday's clash in the EFL Cup semi-final with Chelsea. There may have been a little bit of a language barrier here, because he was being interviewed. It was in his press conference, and Gary Cotterill of Sky Sports was asking him, when he says a couple, does he mean 2? And there's a bit of a language barrier. Conte didn't really confirm whether it is 2 or more than 2, but we can assume, I suppose, that it is at least 2 potential COVID-19 cases within the playing squad. We'll have to see how that one pans out in the next couple of days. But without further ado, as Kane mentioned there, Hugo Lloris and Fabrizio Romano has said, I think it was yesterday, that Tottenham Hotspur are in talks with Hugo Lloris to extend his contract until June 2023. An additional season has been approved by Antonio Conte. And that is the news that we wanted, with the rumours in the last week that Nice were potentially in the market for Lloris, looking to bring him back to his hometown for the final years of his career. Well, Tottenham are set to make him sign that contract, and he wants the contract. We know that. Antonio Conte has said it, and all these reports have said it, that Lloris wants this new contract, and I do think Romano said as well that Tottenham are confident this deal will get done. So hopefully it's an announcement that we get sooner rather than later, that Hugo Lloris will extend his stay at Tottenham by a further year. The club captain, one of our best players this season, made an incredible save from that game against Watford from Joshua King on Saturday, and he's been a very important player for us in a lot of stages this season. I think 8 clean sheets in the Premier League already, despite our struggles in the earlier stages of the season. Antonio Conte said of the player that he's top level. I'm sure in a short time the club will find a solution with Lloris, because he loves Tottenham. And Fitchaques, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, a Spanish source, has said that Hugo Lloris has received pre-contract offers from 2 French clubs, so not just Nice, but he wants to extend his Tottenham contract. So positivity there from all sources and from all angles, that Hugo Lloris wants to extend his stay at Tottenham, and it looks as though that is increasingly likely. Rob says, Matt, who do you think are realistic targets for Spurs? Actual realistic targets, not who you'd like to sign. It's quite difficult to really answer that question at the moment, and I'll bring it back to Conte not having had that meeting with Levy and Hitchen and Paratici, because we don't really know exactly what he wants. We know he wants a left-sided centre-back, but is he going to go for a more experienced player like an Alessio Romagnoli? Is he going to go for a kind of younger player like a Sven Botman? Or is he going to go for a player that he knows, like an Alessandro Bastoni? I think we have that pull factor now with the new stadium, with Kane looking, as I revealed last week, in talks with Tottenham for a new contract, with Lloris staying, with Conte, with Paratici. Things are looking up at Tottenham at the moment, and I think we do have a bit more of a pull, but we are still, at the moment, a team who don't have European football and who certainly are dead set to be in the Champions League next season. I'm looking away to my right because João Moutinho has just put Wolves 1-up at Old Trafford. Maybe their first win there in 40 years. That's good news for us in our pursuit of top four, which I suppose is makes it a bit easier to answer this question. But look, it's hard to tell. Who I would like is definitely very different to who we would realistically sign. But I think we're maybe looking at, from what Conte has done in the past, from what Paratici does as well, we're maybe looking at the likes of Alessio Romagnoli, who are more experienced players, not exactly old, maybe just getting over that hump of their prime, and could be available on a free transfer. Maybe Franck Kessie fitting into that bracket as well. But hopefully we will know a lot more in the coming days and in the coming weeks. Regards to outgoings, Laddie happy that Wolves have taken the lead. It's a great strike by Moutinho as well, a good touch, and he hits it from the edge of the box into the bottom left corner. Within Tanguy Ndombele, Tottenham tried to move him on during the summer without much success. And when Fabrizio Romano said last week that Tottenham are looking for a solution to move him on again, and Sky Sports have now said that Jose Mourinho is interested in bringing Tanguy Ndombele to AS Roma. The midfielder is close to leaving Tottenham, with Juventus also keeping an eye on him. And those moves make sense for me. Maybe, Jose Mourinho bringing him to Roma, there could be a bit of a bit of underlying issues there from their time at Tottenham that may make it a little bit more difficult, or maybe they had a fantastic relationship that we don't know about. And we know, was it during the first lockdown, Mourinho brought Ndombele out and broke the lockdown rules, for example, working with him. So maybe that is one that could make sense. A few other reports out of Italy. Calcio Mercato have said that Tanguy Ndombele, who has fallen down the pecking order under Antonio Conte, is being touted for a loan move to the Italian capital with Jose Mourinho's Roma. And straight off the bat, I can say that is the worst possible thing we could do in loaning out Tanguy Ndombele, because if we're to believe, well, we have to believe what Alasdair has said, that money will be a little bit tight. If we are going to move players on from our squad, well, we need to do it in a way that we can replace them or improve on them. And if we let Ndombele go, it's first of all £60 million that we spent a couple of years ago gone with him not being in the squad. But we then can't bring in another midfielder, which we do need to do. We need to bring in a creative midfield player to make us a little bit more progressive on the ball in the middle of the pitch. And while Ndombele could be that player, it's just not worked out for him. And we loan him out. All of a sudden, we're a player down and we can't really replace him unless we're looking to bring in players on loan, which again I don't really think is a good option at the moment. I think we need to start building towards the future again, and we've tried loan deals with Carlos Vinicius, with Galini, with Lo Celso, and really have any of them worked out? I mean, we made Lo Celso permanent 6 months early, but in the long term that hasn't really worked out. So if we're letting players go on loan, we have to bring them in on loan, and then it just creates too many headaches that we don't need when we have so many headaches in that squad already. Rob says loans for actual first team players are a nightmare. All it does is cost the loaning club money in the long run. Absolutely. I fully agree on that. Ryan says Lille want to keep Botman. Rejected Newcastle's approach for him. Look, that's an option gone. I mean, I'm sure Botman may not be too happy about that, with Lille really not looking to be in European football next season. So maybe that's one that could be revisited in the summer, but we know Antonio Conte wants a left-sided centre-back now. A few further reports on Tanguy Ndombele from two sources that I don't really class as sources anymore. They're absolutely useless. Gazzetta dello Sport have said that Tottenham have offered Ndombele to Roma. The Italian club want to sign him on a loan deal with the buy option attached, while Spurs would prefer it to be an obligation to buy for around €30 million. And Ekrem Koner says AS Roma want Tanguy Ndombele on loan from Tottenham Hotspur in January. So a fairly unanimous feeling there amongst these reports on Ndombele that Roma is perhaps the most likely destination as Adama Traore, but I'm sorry, but to no avail. We'll talk about that a bit more later. Steven Bergwijn, more from him coming from the Telegraph in the Netherlands. They say that Ajax want to sell David Neres this transfer window. If they are successful, they will look to pursue a move for Steven Bergwijn. They say Ajax are serious about signing Bergwijn, and sporting director Mark Overmars will go for the Spurs winger after Neres has left the club. So we kind of know that, and we feel as though Tottenham may be open to allowing that to happen this window, but further reports from them that a deal is going to be pursued by Ajax. On Matt Doherty, Alasdair Gold has said that he's likely to be moved on by Spurs in January, and the club will then be expected to be in the market for a new right wing back this January. And the Evening Standard, Dan Kilpatrick, has said that Antonio Conte is targeting a new right wing back during this month's window. He believes Emerson Royal is one of the first players needed to be upgraded on. And look, there was a lot of talk about Emerson Royal's performance against Watford on Saturday. And personally, I did think a lot of it was really, really harsh. Look, it wasn't his best performance for Spurs. There's no doubt about that. He, for me, towards the end of the Nuno era, was probably the only player that looked to be improving while everyone else was declining. And maybe he struggled with us relying on him a lot more in this new system that we're playing. And he's 22 years of age, and as Lee McQueen pointed out on Facebook or on Twitter, apologies, Facebook. He's 22 years of age. He's never really played in this position before. He's recovering from COVID. He's playing in a new league. It's not going to be something that will click like that and he'll go on to become the right wing back that we've been crying out for. It's just not going to happen like that. And that's not a criticism of Emerson Royal, because there are so many obstacles there for him to overcome. Now, just because it's not particularly his fault doesn't mean we don't have to replace him, or we don't have to try and improve upon him. But I thought the calls for him to be sold after that game against Watford were very, very premature. And even looking at the highlights, he was heavily involved in a lot of what we did going forward. And on the statistical match ratings, which I don't really value that much, but it's there nonetheless, he was man of the match with an 8.0 rating. So look, let's see how it goes. And I have a quote there from Antonio Conte in the wing backs, which I think I've accidentally deleted from my notes, but it's scrolling across the side there. So do keep an eye out for that one. And then on the man in the moment, Adama Traore, who's currently lining up a free kick for Wolves against Manchester United. There has been an update on him, and one that I think makes this move a little bit more likely. I'm not saying it is now likely, but it's maybe less unlikely than it was. And the Telegraph has said that Tottenham and West Ham are weighing up moves for Adama Traore. An offer of around £20 million will be enough for Wolves. Now, immediately there's concern there, because the asking price over the summer was between 40 and 50 million pounds. That has dropped dramatically down to the 20. A big part of that is the fact that he is in now the last 18 months of his contract. So as that starts drawing down and Wolves realise they may lose him for free at the end of next season, they're going to start accepting a lower fee to protect their own financial interest. But the other is that he just hasn't really been good this season. And I've voiced my concerns on this from day one with these rumours, that Adama Traore is a fantastic player who can run past any defender you put in front of him. He terrifies opposition defences, but rarely, and I mean very rarely, with any end product. And I don't have the stats to hand. The last time I checked, it was like 3 goal contributions and something like 57 appearances. And yes, you can talk about the lack of quality in the Wolves front line. You can talk about so many different factors, but at the end of the day, he's played with Barcelona, Middlesbrough, Aston Villa, Wolves, and at every one of those clubs, the same problem was there, that the end product just wasn't good enough. And that for me is why 40, 50 million pounds, it's an absolute no-brainer to stay away from Adama Traore. Now, having said that, for 20 million pounds, that changes my mind a little bit. That makes me think that, look, again, I still think that it's not going to work out for Adama Traore at Wolves or at Tottenham. I don't think that's a good move for us. I don't think it's one that will bear fruit. But it's a risk that maybe is a little bit more safe, or one that's a little bit more worth taking. To start, if he's someone that Adama or that Antonio Conte and Fabio Paratici want to the football club, well then I think we as fans have to trust these two with what they've already done at the club. I know Paratici has had a few questionable signings, but for £20 million, if you sign Adama Traore and at the end of this season, next January, next summer, if it hasn't worked out, I think you're then still in a situation where with a player like Adama Traore, you can get 20 million back for him, because if Tottenham go out and sign him now, for example, we're not spending 20 million on his goal scoring ability or his playmaking abilities or his defensive acumen. We're paying 20 million pounds for a player who can run and run and run and run. So if he comes to Tottenham and he fails with regards to that end product, or he stays bang average as what I'd say in the grand scheme of things he is at Wolves, well then we'll still get 20 million back. Because he'll still have that pace, he'll still have that power, he'll still have that fear factor. And I think with the attributes that he has, his price is never really going to drop below that until he gets to that 30, 31, 32 age, where all those attributes start declining naturally, as they would. So I think at £20 million, it's a risk that's much more worth taking. I still think there are better options out there, and I'd hope that maybe Tottenham are looking at other options and not purely focused on Adama Traore. But for 20 million, I do feel a little bit differently about that. Yeah, look, Rob actually saying there, Emerson facing the same problems Adama Traore did at Villa. Very unfair to stick everything on a young kid like that. New league, new team, etc. And yeah, I do feel it's we need to it may be difficult when you're spending 20-30 million pounds on a player, but you need to take more into consideration rather than is he exactly what we need on the pitch at this time. There's so many alternative factors, and even if he's not good enough, let's not take that out on him. It may just be he's surpassed his limits as a footballer, which you can't really give out to someone for not being better than they are, if that makes sense. But look, we'll have to wait and see how these pan out. A few other reports on Adama Traore, and Alasdair Gold says there's been talk within Tottenham of bringing Adama Traore to the club, and reports have proposed the possibility of converting him into a right wing back as he enters the final 18 months of his contract. And I was having a chat on Twitter before the stream, and I actually just remember that I can recall him playing right wing back one time for Wolves, and he scored twice in a 2-0 win at the Etihad. So maybe that's his position. Maybe that's where he will thrive a little bit more. Sky Italia say Tottenham remain interested in signing Adama Traore this window. And TalkSport, we always get this. Every week we've updates on Adama Traore. We get this exact story. TalkSport has said that Paratici has been a big admirer of Traore since his days at Juventus, and then they reiterate that Wolves would accept £20 million for the winger. From right wing back to left wing back, and to a very, very interesting link, one that I can say has been made with a lot of reliability, or with a lot of credibility. But Fichajes, again I hope I'm pronounced that right, in Spain, have said that Tottenham manager Antonio Conte has set his sights on a summer move for Eintracht Frankfurt wing back Filip Kostic. Now Kostic is a remarkable footballer. He really is an incredible player. And a friend of mine kind of has an interest in Frankfurt, so we do watch them sometimes, and he's just incredible. He's so good, and Frankfurt have been overperforming. I'm not really sure where they're in the table this year, but especially last year they really overperformed, and Kostic was a massive part of that. And if you're looking at in 2021, Statman Dave tweeted actually 2 days ago that the most goal involvements in all competitions by midfielders in 2021, and Filip Kostic is fourth on that list with 32 goal contributions, 7 goals and 25 assists, and he's behind Bruno Fernandes, Marco Reus and Christopher Nkunku. He's 2 ahead of Phil Foden, so an incredible company there with his end product, which is the complete opposite of what we were saying with the last man we were talking about. And I've seen some other stats comparing him to wing backs, and look, it's kind of difficult really to gauge where he's playing now with Frankfurt, which is probably a little bit more advanced than a wing back, and where he may be playing at Tottenham. It's probably hard to gauge exactly who you need to compare him with. But there's stats that I thought I bookmarked on Twitter that I think I've actually lost. But he was right up in the 90th percentile compared to wingbacks in Europe with regards to dribbles completed, crosses completed, passes, assists, everything. He really was in a world of his own with some of these things. He, for goal creating actions, had 0.73 per 90, which is on the high end of wingbacks last year. I've lost the entire stats, but I'll find them and I'll tweet them, so make sure to follow me on Twitter. Link at the top of the chat, and we go through those. But a very interesting link, one that I'm actually quite excited about, and hopefully there is a bit more to come on that one in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. But it's only Fichajes from Spain that are reporting that at the moment, as United are in search of an equaliser. One update on Dejan Kulusevski, and that's from Il Bianco Nero in Italy. Again, I'm not sure on their reliability, but they say there is a disagreement between Paratici and Conte on bringing Kulusevski to the club. The Spurs manager prefers to sign McKennie. I say sign both. I'm not sure Daniel Levy will be too happy with that, though. A couple of updates on Franck Kessie, and James Ollie has said that Tottenham are set to offer Franck Kessie a lucrative offer to tempt him into signing a pre-contract agreement. AC Milan have offered a £6.5 million a year extension, but Spurs are willing to go higher. And just remind you that since the 1st of January, Franck Kessie is open to negotiate with clubs around Europe to sign on a pre-contract deal that would of course begin on the 1st of July. Sport and Media Set have said that Tottenham Hotspur want to sign Franck Kessie this month. The club are long-term admirers of the AC Milan midfielder. We know the interest is there, but like I said from day one, I think this is a deal that is more likely to get done in the summer rather than January. Now the last player I want to touch on, and I'm only going to talk about him because it's absolutely hilarious, and you probably immediately know who I'm talking about. It's just truly bizarre that anyone out there who has the nerve to call themselves a journalist can actually make these links and believe them, or think people will believe them. And that's Romelu Lukaku to Tottenham. It's absolutely comical. We've Quotidiano Net have said that Antonio Conte is still in love with Romelu Lukaku. Tottenham would only think of signing the Belgian striker if Harry Kane is sold this summer. That's a bit realistic, that maybe if we lose Kane, we go for a marquee signing. possibly to appease the fans. I don't know if Lukaku would do that. But then you have Gazzetta dello Sport, and this is kind of the main reason why I just laugh at them as a source. They say Tottenham could drop their interest in signing Dusan Vlahovic this summer to pursue a deal for Romelu Lukaku. A reunion between Antonio Conte and Lukaku is possible at Tottenham this summer as a Chelsea striker is up for sale. Now they said this, I think it was yesterday. Today it's been confirmed that Lukaku will not be leaving the club this month or in the summer. So straight away, utter garbage out of them. But I think we kind of knew that before reports to the contrary came out. Conte and Lukaku have both been asked about this because journalists decide to ask stupid question in the hope for clicks rather than actually getting actual information out of the footballers. Antonio Conte said he feels great affection for Lukaku, but he's a Chelsea player and he refused to comment any more on the situation out of respect to Lukaku and Chelsea. Lukaku himself said on Antonio Conte, "He was a massive influence on my career. He helped me so much on a mental level. He taught me how to be a professional and how to make sacrifices on and off the pitch to be ready for any challenge." Now, look, if Lukaku is saying Conte taught him how to be a professional, I think we should worry about who Conte is teaching how to be a professional for very obvious reasons. But look, very, very funny links there, ones that I couldn't really go past. A few other reports. I titled this segment "The Unknown or Lesser Reliability Reports," just to get everything out there, really, because that's what the show is for. Lecco di Bergamo have said that Tottenham could terminate Pierluigi Golini's loan as early as this January. Atalanta would send him back out on loan again. Fitchakes are among a number of sources reporting on Antoine Griezmann, and they've said that Tottenham Hotspur are keeping a keen eye on Antoine Griezmann's situation with a view to buying him this summer. Sport has also said that Tottenham Hotspur have today sounded out the possibility of signing Antoine Griezmann. The financial situation of Atletico Madrid makes the move very possible. Now, there are three sources that I had noted down in this. The third is the most reliable, in Matteo Moretto, and he said simply Griezmann to Tottenham is fake news. I'm not sure we're too surprised about that one. The Sun say that Tottenham are interested in signing 19-year-old Man United right-back Charlie Wellens. The Mirror has said that Real Madrid will offer Isco to Tottenham in the next 2 weeks if the player decides to leave the Spanish club, who is out of contract this June. Foot Mercato say that Tottenham Hotspur are ready to go head-to-head with Newcastle for the signing of AS Roma midfielder Jordan Veretout, a player who was thriving under Paulo Fonseca, who if we remember from the summer, was very, very close to becoming the Tottenham head coach. The Daily Mail say that Hugo Lloris, Stephen Bergwijn, Dele Alli, Matt Doherty and Joe Rodon could all leave Tottenham in January. They say Conte is hoping to make 2 signings this January. The club are interested in Nick Pope, Adama Traore, Dejan Kulusevski and Dusan Vlahovic. El Nacional say Tottenham have offered to take Filip Coutinho from FC Barcelona for free. The midfielder currently costs Barca €22.9 million per year. Barcelona's finances becoming more comical by the day, and Joe Laporta is actually claiming that they're back on the transfer market and clubs should be worried. A truly ridiculous football club in the way they're run. Mail Sport have also said Tottenham have entered the race to sign Filip Coutinho, with cash-strapped Barcelona ready to offload their £145 million flop for just £16 million this month. Incredible football club. The Record say, as we know, that Celtic are in talks with Tottenham over a permanent move for Cameron Carter-Vickers. We quote last week from Ange Postecoglou, the Celtic manager, that a deal is likely this January for about £6 million. And Carpetas Blaugranas have said that Bryan Hill to FC Barcelona is starting to gain momentum. I'm not too sure on that one. It'll be a deal that surprises me. But look, I'm sure we've been surprised by Tottenham in the transfer window before. A few other bits to run through quickly. Heung-min Son has been named the best footballer in Asia for the 5th year in a row, winning the award for the 7th time in its 9-year history. Looking ahead to Wednesday's game against Chelsea in the EFL Cup, Simon Johnson, who's the Chelsea correspondent for The Athletic UK, has said that Chelsea are probably going to have to make many changes against Tottenham, with lots of players picking up knocks or suffering from exhaustion after the Liverpool match. An incredible spectacle that was on Sunday. FPL have said on Twitter that since Antonio Conte took charge, Spurs have kept 5 clean sheets in 8 matches. Over that period, they've allowed their opponents just 3 big chances, 4 fewer than any other side. And also Antonio Conte has become the first Tottenham manager in history to go unbeaten in his first 8 league games, with 18 points from a possible 24. And finally, an update on Tottenham's situation in the Europa Conference League. And Alasdair Gold has said the Tottenham's appeal over UEFA's decision to award Rennes a 3-0 win in the Europa Conference League, which subsequently saw them crash out of the competition, is still with the club's lawyers for consideration. I think I speak for the majority of fans when I say I hope that the lawyers decide the appeal isn't quite worth it, because I don't think we want to end up back in that competition. If we do, however, we would be playing Rapid Vienna in a playoff to get to the knockout stages. it gets worse and worse somehow. Wolves have beaten Manchester United, by the way, finished 1-0. João Moutinho with the only goal in that game. Barcelona still owe Liverpool money for Coutinho. They also, when Coutinho made it to the Champions League final with Bayern Munich, for whatever clause Barcelona had in the deal to sign him from Liverpool, Coutinho scored twice for Bayern to win 7-0 against Barcelona to knock them out of the Champions League, and that cost Barcelona money. Ridiculous. I truly do not understand the way that club is run. It gets more and more ridiculous by the day. But look, focus on Spurs, and hopefully it is going to be a transfer window that gets busier in the next couple of days. Like I mentioned, not really too many reliable reports with regards to potential incomings at Spurs, but maybe the outgoings need to happen first, then we can make a couple of signings. Centre-back, midfielder and winger are and a backup striker rather are the key targets for Tottenham this window, according to many reliable sources. But for now, we will wrap it up there. Like I said, my Twitter is linked in the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Please do follow me over there for more regular updates and hopefully some more exclusive news as the transfer window goes on. Do make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are closing in on 12k subscribers, and it would be great to hit that before the end of the transfer window. You'll get more of these streams, plus some more Premier League reaction as well, as Tottenham play some very big games this month. 3 against Chelsea, as I mentioned, and 1 against Arsenal. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We've over 260 people watching live right now. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Hopefully 2022 is a better year for us all than 2021. Hopefully it's a better year for the channel as well. But for now, and as always, thank you so much for watching.